do a quick little sound test, but I think we are good. Are we good, everybody? Want to make sure we're not too loud or too quiet. Good, everybody? I think we should be fine, though. As usual, before I begin, I want to thank you all so much for tuning in to another segment of Mi Casa Su Casa, and I am your host, Niko House. I do want to urge you all, of course, as usual, please share the video, like it, if you have not already liked it. For Facebook, if you're listening on live stream, make sure you hit your hearts and likes and smiley faces only. On Facebook, the algorithms will essentially downgrade you if you have any type of angry faces or things like that, because it makes Facebook think that you don't want to watch. On Twitter, make sure you retweet. If you're watching on Periscope, please retweet. And if you are watching via YouTube, like and share as well. All shares are greatly appreciated. As you know, we are battling daily with constant suppression from YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and other social media platforms as well. So please share this video wherever you can so we can go ahead and spread awareness. Also, if you have not yet, make sure you go visit www.mcscnetwork.com. That is the new network website for the MCSC network, which is the network that I created with myself, Tim Black, Holly Seeliger, Kaylin Johnstone is going to be writing for us as well. The Let's Talk Nonsense podcast, Alan Cannon. Well, we really have a lot now that I think about it. Garland Nixon. So we have a lot of people on there. Make sure that you go to www.mcscnetwork network and hey, bookmark it, homepage it, do whatever you have to do that you can make sure that you get breaking news, and make sure that you stay up to date on all the new. I mean, I can't get everything right, but now that we have this network, I don't have to get everything. Other people can get stuff too, so that's the good stuff about that. I'm trying to share this, and then we can get started. I'm a one-man wrecking crew out here. Hopefully today we will have our last sound issue. Man, it's so funny. I get Facebook, by the way, has been blocking me from sharing into my own group even. So this has been fun. I'm really tired of Facebook. They get on my nerves. But if you're watching, please share. So I think that's pretty much it for all the introduction stuff. Pretty sure we have enough people here now. So for those of you who do not know who Joe Rogan is, a lot of YouTubers know him as the bald radio show host, podcaster, who pretty much seems libertarian-ish. Some people consider him conservative-leaning. I don't really think he's that. I think he's like very much so like myself, where I feel like Joe Rogan is a very genuine person, and his background, his personal background, family background, what have you, does influence his views a little bit. However, Joe Rogan has also been the type of person who will actually entertain the idea of changing his mind. But with that being said, if he has a point, he does have a habit of backing up his point with facts. And if he feels like you are BSing on his show, then he will call that out as well. Even if you are his friend, he's called out. He's actually friends with Alex Jones. He's called him out several times. But then, like, Jimmy Dore goes on his show, for example, and him and Jimmy pretty much saw eye to eye on almost everything, from Russiagate to Donald Trump and even Hillary Clinton and Bernie Sanders, who he said he supported. So, but others of you may actually know Joe Rogan from the show he used to host called Fear Factor. And it's funny enough, I actually forgot that he hosted Fear Factor. It totally blanked my mind. I didn't even put two and two together, because if you remember him from Fear Factor, he actually had hair. And so I forgot that he was on Fear Factor. So you have to forgive me, Joe. It's not my fault. I'm not saying the bald look is bad for you, but so yeah, just as you know who he is, I would say, conservative leaning though. And so that's what actually makes this even more entertaining for somebody like myself, because that's why I can allow myself to watch, and I don't mind telling other people to watch Joe Rogan, because you know that he's coming from a genuine place, and he's not going to shove something down your throat for views. He's going to say it because he feels like it's the right thing to say, or he's going to portray something objectively, at least from his perspective. Now you have him having a discussion with Steven Crowder. He is a very, very, very popular YouTuber and a comedian. He has about over 1.5 million subscribers on YouTube. And Steven Crowder is actually the example of why I don't believe in the whole left-right paradigm thing. And I don't believe in the whole left-right paradigm when it comes to journalism, or how you portray yourself as being quote-unquote objective, because it can be dangerous. And then people sometimes they think that they're really, really smart, but they fall victim to it and don't even realize it. And this is an example of that. And I'm gonna explain why in a second, but Steven Crowder is a conservative comedian who swears that he is, like, in the middle on a lot of issues, but he's not. And he swears that his political ideology doesn't influence him on a lot of issues, when it clearly does. But I want to let you listen to a little segment, not all of it, because it's way too long, but I want you to hear a little bit about this conversation between Joe and Steven. And I'm actually going to bring some facts to Steven to help back Joe's point. Not that Joe doesn't do a very good job of doing it himself, but I also want to introduce some more facts, because I feel like Steven Crowder, as well as many other people who think that marijuana should remain illegal, or that or even better yet, not only should it not be illegal, but in my opinion, we should be fighting and advocating for its legality, considering all the positive effects that we have seen happen because of marijuana. And I'm actually going to give another example very similar to marijuana that is being pushed out by the FDA as we speak. It's like marijuana, but it's actually on the opposite side of that fence, and I'm going to explain what that is in a second. But first, let's listen to what Joe Rogan and Steven Crowder have to say before I go into the details and the facts.
If pot is recognized, there is no one who would stand to gain more than pharmaceutical companies by providing it as medicine.
That's not necessarily true. If people allowed to grow it themselves.
Maybe it's not necessarily true. I'll give you that. But I also think it's not necessarily true that the reason people can't smoke up is because Big Pharma is sitting somewhere, Martin Shkreli going, oh, let's make pot illegal.
Well, not that
That's
guy.
my only point.
But there are absolutely people who have lobbied, as we talked about how the prison guard union has lobbied to keep marijuana illegal. There's absolutely pharmaceutical companies have done the same thing. It was revealed in the WikiLeaks memos.
See, this is where I was saying
Hold on, don't interrupt me, you fuck. Where Hillary Clinton said that she's against marijuana in every sense of the word, right? You remember those WikiLeaks papers that came out?
Yeah.
Is he? He said he would leave it up to the states.
Yeah.
That's actually a constitutional approach.
But he wants to beef up the war on drugs.
You know why? I bet someone slipped him a pot cookie once and he looked at his hair in the mirror.
No, he's a teetotaler. He doesn't even drink.
What the fuck?
Sold vodka, doesn't drink, Donald Trump. It's crazy.
That's actually true. He doesn't
Ever?
drink.
No, he says he claims he's never had a
Colorado
drop.
topped $1 billion in legal marijuana sales in 2016.
Good.
Holla.
Yeah.
Holla at Colorado.
Yeah. But another thing that we just wrote about, and again, people get mad with the weed issue. Well, no. Traffic fatalities regarding marijuana have skyrocketed.
Google that because that's nonsense.
No, we wrote about it.
Drunk driving arrests have dropped. What do you mean you've... First of all...
Yeah, we wrote about what the sources are, the original studies.
Just because someone gets in an accident and they're high...
See,
hold on. Stop.
No, hold on a second.
You interrupt way too much.
No,
you need to stop.
You talk in paragraphs.
No. I don't talk in paragraphs. I make full points. If people are high a lot, and the same amount of fatalities exist, but the people that get checked once they get into these accidents happen to be high, it does not necessarily mean that marijuana caused those fatalities. It could be that you have an increased incidence of people doing marijuana and altercations that could not have been avoided.
It could be.
It could be.
But the statistical change is measurable.
Well, what is it? You're talking about in Colorado.
In states where it's been decriminalized.
Let's go with Colorado. Pull it up, Jamie.
Hold on a second. You just said, let me make my point. Again, my point is I don't care about it.
Yeah, you do.
No, I really don't.
You don't care about people dying? You son of a bitch.
You get so touchy about it because someone says, you know what, if people want to smoke up, fine. I just don't really buy the arguments that everyone is in some big conspiracy to try and snuff it out.
No, there are some.
And the idea that the drug war will end, and the idea that it cures cancer. I just don't buy that. And people get so upset.
Well, listen, scientific studies have proven that it shrinks tumors, that it helps people with cancer. Much like turmeric, much like any things that reduce inflammation, including CBD oil.
Tart cherry.
Right, but it's not necessarily a magic. They're all legal, and there's no issue because they're not psychoactive.
Right.
But they are beneficial. So all these things are good. Marijuana is one of the things that are good. And don't shore, man. Just like you don't shore turmeric, you don't shore ginger, you don't shore a reduced sugar diet. All those things that reduce inflammation are good for you.
I don't buy that smoking marijuana would be as beneficial as a reduced sugar diet. And my point is that people get so offended when me saying that. Saying, but if you want to smoke, go ahead.
You might be correct, but it doesn't matter because it's not a fucking contest to see what's the most beneficial. The question is it beneficial and is it damaging?
It does matter.
What's damaging?
No, let me finish my point. It does matter. You said, what would you not talk about? I said, probably pot because I don't care. Well, what do you think about it? I said,
care. That's
this
why
is
you're
what I
arguing
think about it. And your eyes light up. And all of a sudden, where ideology and worldviews shouldn't be discussed,
you're
going to laser like a tractor beam on the most important issue of the day that I said, I don't care.
You're the guy that thinks people should be able to do whatever. You're a free market guy,
that's
right?
What I just said.
So if you're a free market guy, why wouldn't you be in support of something? Whether it's the most beneficial or equally beneficial, but you're not necessarily because you're denying.
But because now of the chemical compounds.
Hold on, fuckface. You're denying.
Come on, it's been a good conversation.
We're friends. I'm just joking. Since marijuana legalization, highway fatalities in Colorado are at near historic lows.
You haven't bringing up the source that you want to find.
Washington Post.
Bring up the study right there. Yeah, Washington Post. Bring up the study that we wrote. We wrote about it on our website.
Look, I don't care about your website, you fuck. Since marijuana legalization, highway fatalities in Colorado
Since you called me a fucking puss, and you do this with the crazy lady at a comedy club,
buddy,
you think if you scream enough that it makes a point. My point is, I don't care about it.
That if we scream enough,
and you just said I was interrupting. You're interrupting now and screaming
because
I don't care about it
put up a post. And you're not.
But I don't buy that it's as valuable as a low sugar diet. And the fact
doesn't have to be.
Now, there is so much wrong with the argument that Steven Crowder tries to make. Now, I should premise with the fact that he and, once again, Joe Rogan are friends. And Joe admitted that he had been drinking, and that's why, well, both of them had been drinking. But, and that's why he kind of started calling him out of his name and things like that. But at the same time, I understand why it gets frustrating dealing with guys like that, because obviously if Joe is friends with him, then he probably knows as well as I do and as well as you do that Steven Crowder is just spouting some nonsensical conservative bullshit because that's what his fans want to hear. And he himself may actually either smoke marijuana or really not care about it. But as far as what it can do to his bottom line, which is why I'm a stickler for any pundits on the left or on the right who claim to be objective or who claim to, to be real and to be honest and truthful. I'm a stickler for that. And you all know that. And it's because of guys like Steven Crowder. So you're going to pretend as if you don't care about marijuana, you don't care about the positive effects or the negative effects, You don't care about the fact that it's illegal or illegal. You just don't care. But as you can see, he's arguing it. He's arguing against it constantly in this video. But he also does something else that he left out of the discussion. But we're gonna let them hammer that out really fast.
You can't have a conversation about this as civilly as you did every other issue. Tells me that there's a problem. This is a TNT powder keg.
I can.
The
problem is I get very defensive when people start talking over me, and you started it first. But the reality is that a low sugar diet is fine.
Sure,
it's good too. Why is there a competition between a low sugar diet and turmeric and marijuana and CBD oil? Why? Why does it even have to be discussed?
Because one is making the claim regarding legality that it cures cancer.
Because my only point is I don't believe
illegal. No, my only point is
because the other ones are already legal. They don't have to fight for it.
Yeah, but no one's prescribing. No one's dishing out dispensaries for turmeric or ginger.
They certainly are. If you go to these local juice shops, you go to these juice shops. People are promoting ginger like crazy, turmeric like crazy. Go online.
Couldn't care less people want to smoke joints.
You're an ideologue, buddy.
Really? That's an ideologue position.
Oh, by the way, Joe just pulled up a bowl and hit it.
Man.
Really?
And that's what a lot of people proved you're full of shit about Colorado and traffic deaths. Should we go and fuck you up with this too?
Yeah. Well, you have your guy looking up sources.
You feel bad about the Colorado thing at all?
What? I never said Colorado. I said states that legalize marijuana.
What other ones are there?
Well, you didn't bring up the source that I wrote about.
I can.
But the fact that you're still hung up on it.
Hold please. What?
I got the article. I've been looking at it for like the last few minutes on your website.
Yeah.
There's a couple statements that are really bad just off the gate, like this right here. If you want to get high, you're a moron.
Well, getting high will make you more of a moron.
That's not a news article.
Right. Hold on, please.
That's commentary.
Hold on. But fine. After all, things like Coachella wouldn't exist. Is this your article?
Yeah.
I think it's an article on my site.
Oh, wait a minute. If you want to get high, you're a moron?
Yeah, I think
you think you're a moron?
Okay. So y'all just heard what he just said, right? The same guy who supposedly doesn't care about marijuana went out of his way to write an article about the fact that he believes if you smoke marijuana, you're a moron. And in the article itself, he even said, if you smoke marijuana, it makes you, or while you're high, you're even stupider. So that's why I'm glad, and that's why Joe's calling him out, like, you're an ideologue. And this is coming from someone who, like I said, personally knows him. He's saying you're an ideologue, as in you're spitting out dangerously wrong, non-factual propaganda based off of nothing but conservative hoopla. You don't even realize the hoopla was created specifically so you, as a conservative with a conservative following who is concerned about your bottom line, would spew that out and convince them that their moral equivocations are actually correct when they're simply not. And not to mention, he just has the facts wrong. He said he will never buy the idea that the FDA is decriminalizing it because they would stand to make less money, or they would stand to make less money if marijuana was decriminalized nationwide, but also made legal in recreational nationwide. And so he truly believes that. But we can look at Open Secrets. If you've never been to opensecrets.org, that's a treasure chest full of reality. If we look at Open Secrets, it says here that pharmaceutical corporations, retired police officer turned anti-drug war lobbyist Howard Woolbridge told the Republic Report in 2012 that one of his biggest opponents on Capitol Hill was the Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America, given that marijuana can take the place of everything from Advil to Vicodin and other expensive pills. PHRMA, also known as Pharma, is certainly an organization to be reckoned with. In 2013 alone, Pharma spent nearly $18 million on lobbying, ranking 9th in spending amongst all lobbying clients. Drug manufacturers gave big in the 2012 elections, which is Barack Obama's elections, nearly $21.8 million to various federal level candidates and committees, as well as parties. I don't get it. Well, you just said that Big Pharma isn't doing this. Steven Crowder. And yeah, maybe Joe Rogan was a bit crass in his approach. You know, he was kind of an asshole. I got it. But at the same time, look, the facts are right in front of you. If you don't think Washington Post is credible, which I get it, Washington Post, depending on the issue, isn't that credible. Got it. Bought by the CIA. However, this is open secrets. This is directly from the FEC. These are statistics from registered lobbying groups that the FEC, Federal Elections Commission, keeps track of. 21 million from drug manufacturers, which is big pharma, and then pharma, or the Pharmaceutical Research and Manufacturers of America. Literally, they're the definition. They are the definition of big pharma. They gave 18 million. So why are you giving millions of dollars to make sure that marijuana won't be legalized? Do you really think that it's a matter of morality with these national level candidates who have access to all the information and more that you and I have access to? You would think it's out of the goodness of their heart. It's the same reason they're arguing against climate change, for example. I understand that climate science isn't as perfect as we like it to be, but at the same time, there are certain realities that you can acknowledge, while at the same time acknowledging other realities. Do I believe, for example, that the earth is unquestionably getting warmer? Yeah, the sun gets warmer every year. Do I believe that humanity could be speeding up the effects of climate change? Absolutely. We have invented a lot more and caused much more damage to the atmosphere than any other generation because there's more of us, more chemicals, and more people, simply put, to be honest with you. We require more cars, more industrialization, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Until we go to alternative energy, that's one fear. I'd rather be wrong about that than, and do something about it. Or excuse me, I would rather be wrong that it isn't true and do something about it than be right that it is true that we are speeding up climate change and nobody do anything about it. So there's that. They lobby, and then of course, look at that. Republicans feel one way about climate change, and look who pays them to lobby. Same thing about gun manufacturing and gun lobbying. They feel one way about the Second Amendment, and then look who pays them to continue to make outlandish arguments in some instances. Now, maybe if I'm a pharmaceutical company, they're like, oh, the pharmaceutical company stands to make the most off of the marijuana. No, because of two things. They can't monopolize it, and you cannot buy a patent on a plant. You can buy a patent on some. You can even buy a patent on some of the chemicals in the plant or some of the components that make up a plant, but you can't actually patent the plant, and you cannot stop people from growing it. And they're very, very aware of that. Because if it's like a tomato, if I really like tomatoes, I could buy it from the store. But if I have a garden and I really, really like tomatoes and I like them a specific way, I can grow them in my backyard. If I'm a poor American, do you think I want to use insurance to buy my marijuana? Or can I grow it in the backyard and get the same effects? So, yeah, they stand to make some money. But you eliminate 30, 40, 50 drugs off the market, generic and name brand, by introducing marijuana, and you bring it into one. So already you're wiping out research from 3/4 of the industry by introducing marijuana. And it's funny that somebody who claims to be a capitalist doesn't understand how capitalism works. Capitalism is only for the preservation and competition when it's a couple of major entities competing with each other, and even then. But when you have to compete with everybody, which would be the case for marijuana introduction if it was legal, they would be competing with everybody. And the pharmaceutical industry doesn't like that. Now, if you want another example of why they would ban a plant, I want to introduce you to a drug called Kratom. Now, Kratom's positive effects. Kratom has a lot of positive effects, actually. So the top 10 benefits. It's a mood booster. One of the attractive effects of benefits of Kratom is its ability to alleviate the user's mood and consciousness. Others who have tried Kratom testify of its capacity to bring users into a good mood, positivity, and a general feeling of contentment. It improves sleep quality. It improves relaxation, increased sociability, potent aphrodisiac, a stimulant as well, increased concentration, a pain reliever, mitigates withdrawal from opiates, and other health issues. What does this sound like? Sounds to me like it's marijuana, except for the stimulant version of marijuana. So it's the same as marijuana. Well, people's brains work differently on different things. And so this is the same as marijuana, but not the same at the same time. But the benefits are pretty damn similar if you've ever tried marijuana. Listen this is a plant, by the way, people. Once again, listen what the FDA trying to do. Last week, and this is February 12th, 2018, according to, this is reason.com. Last week, the Food and Drug Administration announced that the herbal supplement Kratom possesses the properties of an opioid. It's a plant, thus escalating the government's effort to slow its usage as an alternative pain reliever. Sound familiar? It's a plant, people. It's a plant. This is the FDA's Commissioner Scott Gottlieb suggested using Kratom to treat withdrawals possesses a public safety risk. It's a plant. But let's continue. We have been especially concerned about the use of Kratom to treat opioid withdrawal symptoms. Really? You mean the opioids that y'all are making billions of dollars off of? You're concerned that victims of addiction to opioids are being treated? I'm sure that's a coincidence, but let's continue. As there is no reliable evidence to support the use of Kratom as a treatment for opioid use disorder and significant safety issues exist. No, there are not any safety issues whatsoever, and there is a lot of research to support that. It's the same thing they said about there's no evidence to support. There was literally no evidence, by the way, to support the idea that marijuana was unhealthy, but they Schedule 1 did anyway. However, literally there's side effect after side effect after side effect after death after death after death after lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit for opiates, for other pharmaceuticals. And the FDA approves them. Think about that. But Steven Crowder tries to make the argument that, nah, FDA, there's no conspiracy with the FDA. My subscribers wouldn't believe that. While Kratom is currently legal under federal law, this announcement follows the FDA's decision to block the importation of Kratom products. So, once again, we are forced to deal with the demonization of another plant. It's a freaking plant. While we ingest opiates, amphetamines, stimulants, depressants, antidepressants, everything you can think of, they feed us this stuff like Reese's Pieces. And then convince us that the stuff that literally came from the ground is unhealthy. Now, I wonder if Steven Crowder's, like I said, I wonder if his political ideology has anything to do with that. Because I don't understand why you have to be conservative and not like marijuana. People haven't realized yet that if you feel the same way as everyone else in a particular group that you align with, if you feel the exact same way they do about 99% of issues, and it's you and you're quote unquote against something, you're supposed to be for anything, right? If you consider yourself to be like a conservative, you want to be liberal for rights. As long as their rights don't infringe on your rights, you're all about it. But if you're indifferent, then why are you going out of your way to write articles to talk about how much you're a moron if you do it. That means you're not indifferent to it. That means you truly believe that nonsense. Or at least you're telling people you believe it, which is once again why I'm so happy that even though Steven Crowder is Joe Rogan's friend, he still felt the need to call him out. Because that type of rhetoric, even if you're doing it simply for clicks and views, is extremely misleading, it's misinformed, and it's dangerous, because that is the type of rhetoric and these are the type of people, the tools that are used to carry out things such as the drug war that has long-lasting effects. I think one of my friends probably put it best. She knows white women in Colorado who are now millionaires from legalized marijuana, while black men were arrested, put in jail from 15 to 25 years, have spent countless dollars on legal fees, have been gentrified out of their homes over the same drug, over the same plant. And if no one can see how insane that is, you need to do some research. It's not a coincidence. I want to be very clear about this. Once a certain group in a certain class thinks something is okay, that's usually when and they fight for it to be legal, or they fight for it to be the norm. That's usually when it becomes okay. Love to know your thoughts about this. We're going to have a couple more videos coming this evening, but in the meantime, go ahead and take a break. I'm going to take one too. And always remember, ladies and gentlemen, find your balance. Peace.